Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
First of all, welcome and Happy New Year! Has anything been happening in the news?
Oh my God.
Well, why don't we kick it off? We are back together and starting the new year with this breaking news story today. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has just announced his resignation. Take a look.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Well, Trudeau went on to say that he will stay on as Prime Minister until a new leader is chosen for the Liberal Party. The country's parliament is now suspended until March the 24th while that process begins. This announcement comes after months and months of calling for his resignation. Notably, those exploded after former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland quit last month. Okay, let's react to this, ladies. Ooh. Andrea, we know where the audience stands on this. Where do you stand on this?
It was very interesting to hear you guys cheer. Whether you love him or hate him, it was really hard to watch.
It
was hard to watch someone who loves their job have to step down and back away from a job. And several times in his speech, he mentioned that he is a fighter and that he loves this country. And again, I never questioned his love for this country. People may have questioned his decision-making, but not the love for his country. And this is a job that is in his blood. Let us not forget his father, Pierre Trudeau, was our prime minister from 1968 to 1979, and again in 1980 to 1984. But unlike his father, he's had a very messy time. And he will go down in the history books of having a very chaotic, dramatic time.
At least towards the end.
At least towards the end. But the one thing I will give him is that he listened to what the people wanted. He's stepping down and he's listening, and that is most important.
You know what's interesting?
Right?
See, I had no idea that there was a poll back in November that 2 out of 3 Canadians had a negative impression of him, and half of Canadians wanted this to happen today, wanted that resignation. And this was fascinating with our audience. This half, not to call anyone out, you guys all cheered.
Yeah.
And this side was like, I'm not too sure. But that does represent the country.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting.
But we can't ignore the next few months are going to me, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little anxious. It's going to be a little chaotic as we try to figure out what's going to come next. And whoever that next leader of the Liberal Party is, my hat's off to them. They have a tough job ahead of them, and they're also going to have a very short runway to run.
That's the thing. That's the part that's maybe making me a bit unsettled, because obviously what he said was he wants to make sure that there's a robust, inquiry into who this person might be. But the thing is, we don't have a lot of time.
No.
And we need time to, the chances are we know which direction the next election is going to go in, but we need to have somebody who has a shot. And so I feel like right now the problem with trying to have some kind of open call, I don't know, what the impression that was left was
like an open casting call.
I don't know, an open casting call. Maybe it's a reality show. I don't know. We don't have time for that as a country.
We don't have time for that. I think there's a lot of names coming forward as some potential front runners, because I think just as quickly as we heard Prime Minister Trudeau resign, the next conversation's already happening. Who's going to step in and run? And I think that for me, I know a lot of people have said, the next election, it's a done deal. I'm not one of those people. And I'll tell you why. My vote matters. Every single one of our vote matters. Never forget that. And number 2, I like the idea. This is democracy at work. Democracy is messy. It's chaotic. And we've been really lucky compared to our southern border friends, where we just see Europeans,
we are living parallel lives kind of right now.
We are kind of are. But why I'm okay with that is this is what democracy looks like. I'm actually really excited to go through this process with my daughter, who's now 10. She's old enough to kind of get it, because this is how democracy is supposed to work. It's never supposed to be perfect. And I think if we think it's supposed to be ideal and so Pollyannish, we got to wake up. And I have to say something very, very clearly. This country is at a crossroads. We have a prime minister, whoever that person is, who's going to have to go up against a guy named Donald Trump. And whoever that is, they need to be coming out of the gate ready and swinging for this country.
Do you know what? That's very interesting. I couldn't agree with you more. But I feel like, and myself included, we sort of operate under this maybe incorrect idea that one person, man or woman, can fix this all. Like the idea that most Canadians who were dissatisfied with Trudeau, it was because they simply didn't like him. They simply felt that they were tired of him. And this idea, like, Trudeau isn't responsible for my mortgage rate on my house skyrocketing. That's not his fault. A lot of people, I think, tend to blame him, and there's this idea that whoever we elect next, they're gonna fix it all.
Well, and
they're gonna fix healthcare. They're gonna fix...
Already, Poilievre has come forward in his interview with Jordan Peterson. Let's not even go into that. But in his interview, he did say, Canadians can't expect things to change overnight. He's already laying the groundwork for that. And I will say, just to mention him for a moment, the one thing I didn't like about today is that many of the news organizations, you saw Justin come out, and whether you like it or not, he did field questions from journalists. Same with the Bloc Québécois leader. There was one person who so far, as far as I know, and this may air once this is no longer true, somebody put out a message on X, on Twitter, and that was Poilievre. Now, why does that matter? It matters because, as Marshall McLuhan once famously said, the medium is the message. So if you don't take questions from journalists, if you don't allow people to interrogate, if you present with something that actually has background music and is just like your statements.
A commercial?
It's a commercial, basically. And to me, that is a very thing that we should pay a lot of close attention to, because journalism matters in this country, interrogation and questions matter, open and honest conversation matters, and if you start to erode that, we've lost something in our democracy.
2025, Cynthia.
Don't do it. No, she already has a job. She already has a job. You sit your butt here. You already have a job. Thank you.
I will say this.
I just love what you said.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. Speaking of women running, you know that Chrystia Freeland, who of course we know famously resigned as her post as finance minister, in early polling, it was done as of yesterday, she is leading the polls out of the possible contenders. She hasn't officially announced anything, by the way, but she is so far, when you've asked Canadians who would you like to see lead the party, she's doubling Mark Carney right now in the early polls. And so is there a future with Canada's first elected female prime minister?
Oh my God, we are overdue for a woman in office in this country.
Might be getting ahead of ourselves.
Now that I like. Her quitting, no. This Chrystia Freeland, yes.
Oh, it's going to be an exciting week and an exciting few months, no?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
You're right.
It's true.
So the 82nd annual Golden Globe Awards were last night, and the fashion is all anyone is talking about. Okay, plus the movies and the TV and the winners, blah, 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 blah. Andrea.
Yes.
Who was your best dress?
Who do you think it is? Zendaya, the red carpet. Look at this color! This copper Louis Vuitton strapless dress in this color, honey, with the train is everything. And the matching shoe, you know, she likes to sew Kate 120 millimeters high. She looked amazing, the hair color, the jewels. But yeah, let's look at the dress, but then let's get down to business. It was a little piece of jewelry that she was wearing on that ring finger that we all took notice. And it has been confirmed that she is engaged to Tom Holland. He proposed over the holidays. So that's the ring. There was also, we don't have the photo of it, but she has a small T tattoo right under, I don't know, is that side boob? What do you call this area?
Oh, yeah.
Under
Your rib
arm,
cage.
side boob, right in the
Your
middle.
rib
A
cage.
little a T that somebody caught. You can watch it on eTalk. They got the photo. So for me, she was like hands down the best, but it was also a little surprised to see that sparkler.
Yes.
Good job, Tom. We like the ring.
Yes.
We like the ring, Tom.
Very nice.
We like.
My best dress was also wearing Louis Vuitton, and it was Emma Stone.
Oh.
And it wasn't just the
Oh my
color
gosh, yes.
and the silhouette of this dress. I just love both of those things. But I think what really stole the show is that haircut.
Yes.
Did you guys see that? How
Very
shocking
Mia
is that?
Farrow.
Yes.
It's so Mia Farrow. But I just love how she wore such minimal makeup and barely any jewelry to let this haircut sort of sing and breathe and present it to the world.
This is her haircut.
I love it.
She looks
should never
totally
grow her hair
different.
again.
She looks totally. But when you guys see a haircut like this, doesn't it immediately make you want to have your haircut?
No, never.
Never. Wait a second. I did this, and I immediately saw how big all my features were, and I was like, let's grow our hair back and put on some extensions.
She's
my
got a tiny
God.
little fairy head. Like, it looks great
So
on
I
her.
could do it,
but...
is what you're saying.
No!
I have a tiny little fairy face, no?
Oh, you want to chop it?
Yeah, like that,
You know,
right?
it's just hair. It grows back. If you want to try it, try it.
Yeah, we'll support you in that.
Thank you.
Will we?
I'll do
I don't
it
know.
myself
I don't know. No?
For me, when she stepped out on the red carpet, I just said, this is a winner, baby. And I'm talking about Demi Moore.
Oh, yeah.
Demi Moore.
also
She's wearing
looks good.
custom Giorgio Armani Privé, who she's want to wear several events. That is a custom Swarovski embellishment on the front. This woman is 62 years old, or is it now already 63? And as we know, she won for her role in the film The Substance. And I don't know what she's doing, Benjamin Button, but I want to know because she just looked fabulous.
Well, that's a lot of money and a lot of things happening
Maybe
there.
she's
Sure.
best
mere
friends
mortal.
with Ariana's best friends, Botox and Juvederm.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Maybe
got
they're
that.
just friends. Maybe they're all
Oh,
friends.
yeah. But what I loved about this dress and the story about this dress is it's a little hard to walk. It's so form-fitting. She decided, you know what? I'm not going to take the limo to the venue last night. She actually walked from her hotel in that dress and walked to the venue.
Oh my
So it
God,
would be
like
faster.
a team of people?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sure.
Just like us. Incredible.
Okay, this woman I could not take my eyes off, which was Viola Davis.
Yes.
Take a look at her.
Oh, goddess.
This dress is Gucci, and I was surprised. This is the most Gucci dress I've ever seen.
Really?
It's giving a little bit of disco ball, rainbow cape, like 70s. I just think she looks absolutely glorious. And what's interesting is that a couple nights beforehand, she actually wore, oh my God, let's just give it a moment. She gave it a moment. Let's give it a moment. This dress she wore, similar silhouette, also had a cape. She wore this 2 nights before. This is a Dior dress. It's the Golden Gala, which happens just before the Golden Globes. She won the Cecil B. DeMille Award. And she gave this beautiful speech just about her upbringing and how she went through really, really hard times. I think she had like an alcoholic
she had a
parent.
hard family.
She had a
Never read
really
her book,
hard
yep.
family life. She was told she wasn't pretty. And the one thing that was her escape was acting. That it was the magic in her life. That the one thing she could do as a little girl was go and escape into these different characters. And I just thought, like, just came full circle for her to have these magical outfits and have this.
Yeah.
It's just so
It's
lovely.
really, really sweet.
Okay. So there were also some risky looks last night. So who was your biggest risk taker, Mel?
Okay, I say risk taker and not for a bad reason. I'm talking about Melissa McCarthy's pink jumper, like jumpsuit and this thing. And the reason why I thought it was risk taking.
This is Christian Siriano, right?
Christian Siriano, custom Christian Siriano, was because it's actually a cape that you see, all those multi-tiered ruffles. Apparently it took her 15 minutes to get into the car with it.
Oh.
So the risk is, and she even made some jokes on the red carpet, like she's wearing platforms. She's never worn platform shoes before. So she goes, for the first time, I'm the one in the room where people are like, excuse me, ma'am, I can't see over you. And she never gets that because she's actually quite short. I want to say full circle moment. Christian Siriano, he designed and custom made this for her. I remember watching her on an award show maybe a decade ago where she said, no designers will dress me as a curvy woman. And now fast forward, he custom made this gorgeous look for her.
Can I also chime in on why that is a risk very quickly? Often when a woman of a certain size who isn't maybe a size 2 or size 4, they're often told not to wear anything bulky or oversized.
Or
It's
bright
almost
colored.
like as though
Yeah.
you're not supposed to take up, you're already taking up enough space. Don't take up anymore. That's why I love this outfit. It's so fashion.
Yeah.
I just applaud her and love it.
You know, we're talking about her dress, but can we talk about her face card? Because this woman is drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Aside from her weight, her face is stunning. She looks so
You know
good.
who also took a risk last night, and I think it really paid off, was Pamela Anderson. You know, she's been walking red carpets for a while and not wearing makeup. Again, she's wearing very minimal makeup.
Good for
But the
her.
risk here is that she didn't have a stylist. She did her own makeup and she styled her own outfit.
her.
Mind you, it is an Oscar de la Renta dress and she's wearing a ton of diamonds and opera gloves. But I think it's really refreshing. I'm not sort of dissing the stylist movement, which has overtaken red carpets for decades now. It feels like, maybe not decades, maybe the last decade. But this just feels refreshing. I think about the amount of time that Pamela Anderson saved. You know, dozens and dozens of hours, not going to fittings, not going back and forth with designers. She just got dressed. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Here's the question,
And
though.
she looks fabulous.
I have a question for all of us. Would you, at an event that big, go without any makeup on?
Well, I would.
no.
Not necessarily, but I think what is so great about her whole image revolution, and again, I don't know how intentional and like conscious it's been, but just to go from the way that we saw her in the public imagination for so long, which was very, very heavily
Overdone.
made up, overdone in a way, I mean, depending on your lens. And then now to do this pared down, I've been in Vancouver living, you know, with my
Quiet
garden,
life.
a quiet life. Like, people have just fallen in love with her in a whole new direction. So I just love it. I love it.
I
so
love
much.
it. I don't. I'm with you. I don't have it to do it.
No,
Like,
I
excuse
don't.
me, sir. Get off the red carpet. I'd be like, Sandra, it's me. Like, no, not for me.
The risk taker I chose was Cate Blanchett. She wore this golden Louis Vuitton gown. It's classic Hollywood.
Great color.
So there's two risks here for me. That draping off the top is not for everyone. It could end up looking a little bit, plus the shoulders, like it's a unique structure. But what the real risk is that Cate Blanchett actually wore this exact dress maybe 6 months ago during the Cannes Film Festival. There it is.
Oh, it's a redo.
She changed up her hair, but her stylist was like, she loves this dress, it's iconic, we decided to wear it again. And a lot of people do this increasingly, but usually it's been years. It's like, I'm resurrecting this from my
vintage.
But she just did it a few months ago, and I think we're gonna see more and more people, because it's a statement as well. It's
That's
like,
a statement.
I don't
that's
need to
a
have something
statement.
good for the environment.
And again, time saver.
Yeah,
A real
time
time saver.
Well, I also chose a risk taker who made a statement, and I'm talking about Jeremy Strong.
Oh.
You guys might know him from the show Succession.
Yeah.
He wore this seafoam green Laura Piana suit with matching watch, bucket hat, and sunglasses. And at first, I had three strong emotions when I saw him. First one was confusion, because I was like, who is that? Second one was laughter. And then the third was joy, because you know what? Last night, and a lot of these award shows, it's very safe. Everybody's wearing a black tuxedo. The women are wearing like one of three colors, and it's so boring. And in that sea of black suits, there was this seafoam green with the bucket hat. And I was like, and he reminded me that fashion is supposed to be fun. I know everybody's forgotten because no one's buying, their stuff off the rack the day of or wearing that. Remember that dress that Bjork wore and she laid in it? Those days are long gone. Everybody's using their fashion architect to have a very curated look, and it makes it a little bit boring. So I appreciate you, Jeremy, from not wearing your standard brown, which is he loves to wear brown, and adding a little flavor, a little seasoning last night.
And by seasoning, I saw this. And I never, the bucket hat came back recently, and I was just like, I'm not going back there. I left that in the early 90s. And I was like, oh my God, the Beastie Boys are back.
Right?
That's so nice. I do love the color. My husband said if he didn't have the sunglasses and the hat, my husband said he would rock the suit in a second.
And he also has to lose the turtleneck. Maybe just like
I love the turtleneck.
You like the turtleneck?
Yes.
No.
Oh my God. I love the turtleneck.
After last year's Golden Globes host, Joe Coy, memorably flopped, the bar was on the floor for this year's MC, Nikki Glaser, and she raised it, baby.
Yes.
She killed last night. So let's talk about some of the standout monologues and moments from last night. Jess, what was your standout moment?
You just said it, Nikki Glaser. She was incredible.
Yeah.
And I read that she actually sort of workshopped her jokes leading up to the big night at comedy clubs. And that research really paid off. And it didn't feel like she was out for blood.
No.
It felt like she was out for laughs. And the best part was that all the cutaways, like she didn't leave anyone out. She picked on celebrities, but the cutaways to every celebrity reaction was one of joy. Like they got it.
Yeah.
They were able to laugh at themselves, which was just
Like a roast.
So like a roast, but a roast light.
Yeah.
Like no one was left crying.
She didn't go as
after.
far as Ricky Gervais, who always goes real close.
Well, I actually think he does a good job.
She danced along the line, but she didn't make people feel like, oh,
But the
God.
jokes felt so fast and furious. Like if you looked away, you would have missed 2 or 3. They were so quick. So it's hard to pinpoint one that encapsulates how good she was and how many things she touched on.
Yeah.
But her sort of joking with Timothy Chalamet was a standout for me.
All right, so my standout moment was more awkward than anything else. Did you guys see when Vin Diesel came out on stage to present an award? He shouted out his former co-star, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, a little backstory. Now, these two men worked on a Fast and Furious, like 19, I don't know which one of them, and they did not get along. They actually are not friends. So for this man, this grown man, to step out on stage, and instead of just reading the teleprompter, which, by the way, it's like he saw the teleprompter for the first time in his life, the way he was reading. It was like, you did not show up for rehearsal. But to step out on stage and choose violence with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who's just sitting there in his lavender trying to have
With
a
his
nice time,
daughter.
sitting next to his
Literally
daughter,
eating for
was
lunch.
just like, why would you? There was no payoff. There was no laughter. It was just awkward. And then Dwayne sitting there like, I'll meet you backstage. Like, it was just like, why would you do that?
Also, like Dwayne is known as being like the nicest guy in Hollywood. So, right? Like everybody
This
knows.
is also an old fight. This fight is years old. So why would you
I don't know.
take
Rehash
that stab?
it.
Just get up there.
Does
read the
anyone know
prompter,
what the
and
fight
go
is
away.
about? Just quickly.
They
I
just
think there's a
didn't
lot
get
of
along.
egos.
just didn't get
Egos on
along.
set.
Okay.
Egos on set.
Too many bald men with too much wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There is only room for one bald man on every Fast and Furious set. This is true. This is true, not true.
It's true.
It's in the contract.
in the contract.
Love it.
Yeah.
2025.
I chose this moment that was the Canadian pairing that we didn't know we needed, which was Catherine O'Hara and Seth Rogen. Oh my God. Okay, so they started riffing again in that way that, you know, how like so often Americans like don't know anything about us, don't know how many celebrities came from Canada, and they were riffing about imaginary films that were famous that got stopped at the border, and then things got a little bit spicy. The most illustrious award is apparently the Beavers or the Beaver.
Yes, this is true.
Anyway, I just love that moment, and it's just like more from both of them.
You know what I love? And why is it that, you know, this is one thing I do love about our Canadian exports. No matter where they go, what stages they land on, they always have some kind of Canadiana that they bring to the Americans.
Yeah.
Every time.
And bring real talent and real laughs. That was the funniest moment of the entire night.
It was great. It was great. What was my moment again? Oh, yes, sorry. Guys, sorry, menopause. My moment was actually, going back to my best dress, was the moment when Demi Moore actually won for her best acting. I was like, oh, she must have won before. She said on that stage, that's the first award she's ever won for her acting.
Yeah.
She's been acting for 45 years. I don't know why. I started watching her in the, you know, Brat Pack era of St. Elmo's Fire and all of those films. Ghost.
Oh my God.
I
she won
an
A Few Good
Oscar.
Men. A Few Good Men. She's so good in that.
G.I. Jane.
Yeah, G.I.
Jane.
You can go on.
I'm still trying to get those abs.
Yeah.
You know,
my God.
So I just thought to myself, you know, she says later on in her speech that 2 years ago, she thought she was going to quit acting. That she said, you know what? Clearly, the universe is telling me I'm done because I don't get any more of these roles. She's over 50. Like I said, she's 62 years young. And then the script for The Substance came across, which is about an aging woman in Hollywood who gets fired from her job when she turns 50. Like, it's so art meets life, life meets art. So I just thought last night, finally, for her to get her roses, congratulations.
That's pretty poetic.
I love it.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Really great. No.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.